outreach to the last mile. As per the announcements in the last 4-5 weeks, the liquidity, as was discussed today, was not a major issue with the NBFCs, microfinance institutions and anyone. There were state agreement that this is the time, festival season is coming. So therefore, it was the time to speed up and step up the efforts to do far more efforts to reach to the customers who need the credit as per the prudential norms which are there. The NBFCs and MFIs in particular raised certain issues for easing that process in terms of using the KYC changes for communication and taking the old address. That solves the problem of the migration and also various other things when the jobs are changed or that. The vehicles, housing, they all express that there is robust demand and liquidity is also not an issue. Therefore, they have all decided to join in the outreach program and step up their efforts in various districts. The government, as a finance minister announced last Friday, in 400 districts there would be an outreach program. The outreach program is essentially to just go to the districts and convey that banks have sufficient liquidity, so as the NBFCs, and therefore it's an outreach for prudential lending to those who want to take loan. It's not any kind of a relaxation of norms there. It is just that after the last announcement of the finance minister, there was also the enabling provision from the CVC saying that the commercial decisions, and there would be a fine distinction between commercial decisions and otherwise, and a committee was set up. So there is no fear psychosis as such, and there is no liquidity issue. So it's an outreach, and to take advantage of the festive season, this outreach program has been organized. We'll be putting the list of the districts on our website tomorrow or day after. The first round would be in around 250 districts where all banks will participate, and they will work in along with the NBFCs and HFCs and microfinance institutions, so that they can leverage the last mile connectivity which the MFIs, NBFCs and HFCs have. And in turn, these institutions can take advantage of the liquidity which banks have. So it's a kind of win-win situation for both, and therefore the efforts would be to establish these camps and do it for 3 days from 3rd to 7th September in 250 districts. List of districts would be on the website so that everybody can know in advance. The second phase will also start and extend in periods till Diwali. So this is the usual time. In any case, banks and others do their outreach program during this time. The other issues raised by some of the MFIs and the HFCs regarding the rate at which they get the refinance have also been noted. They also raised the issue of the SIDBI and NABARD doing their external benchmarking while doing the refinance have also been noted and would be looked at. So this is in a nutshell the entire.
Is that okay?
सर एक बार हिंदी में बता दें बेसिक समझ
अलग से बता दें
ठीक
हाँ
Is that all right? I just want to add a few points. Everything that we've heard here is what is being said. It's not Government of India's viewpoint which is being voiced. The summary of what we've heard from the NBFCs, mutual funds, and also the private sector bank is, some of them are here. So in their presence, I would like to say, I have not heard liquidity as a problem from anybody. That is one thing which I want to take as a message. If anything, more liquidity reaching them, they see a demand waiting there and they wouldn't mind extending further facility. However, they have some reservations because of given RBI rules, like they can't participate in a co-origination related exercise with another bank because of certain restrictions put on them by the Reserve Bank. So that is one of the main things, for example, which has come up, saying if only that wouldn't be curbing us, we'll be able to extend more loans. There is a demand. One point I'd like to highlight here is many of the MFIs and microfinance units which have come here are in the deep country. They are in absolutely rural, densely populated rural areas, whether in the north or in the south or in the west. So almost near unanimity prevailed that in those areas there's still demand, there's still activity going on, and they're going on extending their loans. And many of them, in fact, I was in a light-hearted way telling them, because each suggested that we are growing at 10, we are growing at 20 and so on. I said I'll be very glad to see placards of what is the growth, because all of them clearly voiced positive growth, which is a good, encouraging story. Particularly for the small finance banks, it seemed as though they are going on a smooth path. They've not had a friction or a blip in the last 1 year. So the issue is, if more money reaches the rural pockets, there's more demand and they can service. So liquidity, I repeat, I didn't hear from anyone telling me there is a crisis or there's a shortage of liquidity. That's one message which came across. The other is, many of them are dealing in rural areas, many of them are dealing with SHGs, many of them are dealing with women particularly. So any other issue related to that, which is a step in wanting to relax further norms, like for instance, we had Bandhan Bank's chief who's here telling us about women who are their large customers, large number of customers are women. If they move from one place to another because of marriage or because of relocation, to get their new address becomes an issue. So he's not worried about, I'm unable to lend. He says practical problems about, logistics or moving, addresses shifting, things of that kind were the issues. In fact, many of them were talking about what we can do further to relax for them to get going with their business. So largely, one other opinion which prevailed is affordable housing scheme, which the government has launched, is really taken off well. In fact, there's a desire from some of them saying instead of 45 lakhs, can it be raised to 50 lakhs so that that can be included. Segments which want 50 lakh also can be helped under the affordable housing. One observation which I heard, which I'm repeating, it's not my voice, that the commercial vehicle related problem, people not coming forward to buy as many commercial vehicles, is seen as a cyclical problem, is seen as a problem which is not new, which happened sometime in 2010 or so. So the private bankers and also the NBFCs, which are specializing in lending for commercial vehicles, feel that it is a problem which will be gotten over in the next 1 or 2 quarters. It has happened before, it is now again. Whereas in the passenger vehicle segment, what I heard here was that is largely driven by sentiment. And on that, because of the various ways in which companies have themselves come out, probably it will resume in the near future. These were observations which I heard. If there was a problem of liquidity, it was in the wholesale financing, so not in the retail. These are words which I've heard and therefore I'm repeating. Yes, I suppose largely that. It was interesting to hear that many of them have already got onto threads through which they are dealing with SME, MSME claims. So discounting of their bills once they are on dealing with a company which is already in threads is happening and happening fast. There was also this thing about GST related invoice and bank related credit happening already. I heard quite a few voices which said we're already into it, so that's also being facilitated in order that the small manufacturers or MSME related sectors. One interesting observation which came was the service sector is showing very high appetite for credit, and because today more than 50% contribution to the GDP of the country is from the service sector, there's immense possibility to be able to reach out to them, provided of course there are some simpler tweaking that we can do using their salaries and the cash that they earn also as part of what can be used for their assessment, credit assessment. So whilst that is already growing at a good rate, credit offtake by the service sector, a bit more facilitation, understanding their assets are more liquid assets rather than immovables. Such amendments would also help them in order to service the prudential norms but yet give further credit to them. So on the whole, it was a very, what can I say, tonic-like meeting where I've heard a lot of good things, positive things, and not one voice said there's a concern, there is a shortfall of demand, but to my surprise, more credit for them is possible even as it is, because none of them voiced liquidity concerns. This is some and substance of what I've heard. There are some of them here. If you would want to ask any questions, that's fine.
Madam, you said that not one of them expressed concern. So is it
on liquidity in specific?
So the fact is that in terms of NBFCs and MFIs, then would you like to see a further push given, because from public sector banks you have to push them a little bit. In private sector you're seeing them, you're saying tonic like. Is there something that the government can give some impetus in terms of allowing them to
Sunil, I'll cut short your question because I quite understand the question that you're asking me. In fact, many of them, even at the very beginning of their intervention, said they quite understand and appreciate the government's measures in doing the banking outreach, going to the district, having the NBFCs along, and also reaching out to clients is something which is largely everyone said the kind of thing you need to do now, please go ahead doing it. And I've in fact given an open invitation saying if any of them would want to join there, at least to observe what is going on, they're welcome to join. I'm conscious, super conscious that they're all private sector banks. I'm only requesting and inviting them, not nudging them to do anything much against their own.
Ma'am, since you said that this meeting with the private sector bank was a tonic-like meeting, what is their own assessment? When will things start getting better in terms of growth numbers?
I didn't ask them that question because I don't come from the media.
So, if you're okay with that,
there's somebody who can always answer.
I can answer on that. If you see that every year, the first quarter and second quarter, it's there always, it's in every year. And it has been started before the Puja and Diwali 1 month ago. So whatever we see that, and our bank is specific also, and other also people say they have not seen anything is slow in that sense. Demand is the same way is coming. So it will be take on that. From this month, last month it is coming on that, and I hope that it is a very good growth is coming. You wait for this quarter and the next quarter.
There was an issue on co-origination, and there was an issue that was expressed as conveyed to us that there is a concern around co-origination that NBFCs feel about the RBI restrictions. So what is government likely to do?
No, 1 minute. That is not for all NBFCs across the board. Particular NBFCs which are deposit-taking NBFCs and small finance companies. They are the only small finance banks, as they call. They are the only two among NBFCs which are by RBI's regulation, which cannot join in the co-origination. Not all NBFCs.
So now that they have conveyed their concern on that aspect, will the government look to remove that concern or trying to nudge RBI to.
Well, let's see. As it is, all of them are saying we are doing enough towards lending. But they said if co-origination has got to be used through us also, we have a built-in restriction from the RBI. We'll have to see how it goes.
Ma'am, one question on the partial credit guarantee scheme for NBFCs. It was announced in the budget as well, and then the scheme notification came out. We just wanted to understand what's the status on that, ma'am. Any feedback further on that? And also one issue probably that was being flagged off. Please check us if we are wrong on that front. That probably what the government tried to say in that was triple-rated assets of NBFCs and not triple-rated NBFCs. So, sir, if there's something.
Are we looking at any change in what is the quantum which has been disbursed till now?
Can I just take one comment on behalf of the...
Yeah, please go ahead. Just introduce yourself so that they know.
I'm Vaidyanathan. I'm the MD of IDFC First Bank. First of all, I think that the Finance Minister gave close to about 2 hours of patient hearing to housing finance companies, non-banking finance companies, large banks, small finance banks, and so on. Secondly, and that was actually many of them actually expressed that this once in a long time they are able to get an audience like this, which was very gratifying. The second point that came about almost uniformly, that in the private sector banks or NBFCs or in the lower end of the Indian ecosystem, small entrepreneurs, consumers everywhere, demand is very, very strong. There is no slowdown at all, and almost everyone represented that growth demand is anywhere between 18 to 25% is the kind of demand almost everyone is seeing. In fact, some small finance banks even saw growth of 40%. The third thing was that almost uniformly liquidity was not an issue at all. Almost everyone said there is enough liquidity, and of course that is corroborated by RBI's. Everybody knows that there is over 130,000 crores of liquidity in the system. The issues with regard to co-origination issues for specific sectors, KYC issues for certain sectors, and migration-related issues of population or of other segments of Indian population. These were the issues that were, and which the Finance Minister and Secretary said that they will work with the concerned people and try to come back to us with a solution.
Can I ask, I want to support what the government is doing on the last mile. And I am
Introduce yourself, please. Introduce yourself, because many of them may.
I am chairman of the Muthoot Group. We are in business for 800 years and the 19th generation, and we are doing largely what government is doing, and appreciate they have taken this goal and going further to give money to the last time. And we have 5,000 branches, and it is so much convenient for us to join the government because we are doing already this for the last 8 years in the banking, and we have 70 crore customers, including repeat customers, adding 2.5 lakh customers a day, which means 7.5 crores is added. So we are doing phenomenal work, and I'm so glad that government is supporting this activity to go further. And we are the one maximum doing financial inclusion plus. What we are doing is financial inclusion, bringing the people. We are giving the money, that is financial plus, and we are using that money for something, and they are paying back. Financial inclusion plus. So I think people are all having, we are doing phenomenal work on the economy of the country as a private sector, and we are doing that for years to do, and it is growing, and the government is supporting. And the government is now coming.
Can I say something on housing?
You have now held meetings. Ma'am, you have held
1 minute. There is a banker who wants to speak. Would you want to hear her or not? Please.
Karna from HFC. And I just wanted to tell you that in HFC we have funded more than 1.1 lakh beneficiaries under the CLSS scheme. And we have a list of people that we can actually continue to do. So under the affordable housing segment, I think there is no demand problem. The demand is huge. And the steps that the government has already taken and is also in the process of taking has really expanded that that bit. So I just thought we should see very positive.
When you have had meetings with the public sector banks and now private banks as well as NBFC. So why you feel like these private sector banks are basically expecting a demand of 18 to 20% growth in credit compared to much lower growth in the state-run banks?
I have not done a cross-analysis of this. What is being heard is being heard before you, and immediately after every such meeting, we are meeting with the media. I have not done a cross-analysis between these two.
Have you shared partial pooling of assets?
Yeah. Okay. Uday Kotak here. I'll answer your question. First of all, we think about one country, one financial system. We do not look at ourselves as different parts of a different system. For whether it's public or private sector, we are part of one financial system, one country. And what we really feel is that this is the opportunity for us when the government is going out there for us to do what is our dharma, which is to lend money prudently and rightly across the country. Therefore, alongside, we would be very happy to support an outreach program which enables us to grow our business, which is our core objective. And therefore, it is very consistent, and we do not see any sort of pressure from government to take any underwriting decisions or risk decisions which we are not comfortable with. But we see a huge opportunity in this outreach program at a time when we are all surplus liquidity with us. We are wanting ways of being able to put out the money.
I want to add to this that the Finance Minister specifically pointed out.
Just 1 minute, there's somebody else saying.
That the Finance Minister and the Secretary specifically pointed out that what we are doing is an outreach program. This is not a loan mailer. The Finance Minister made it clear that you have your norms, you have your requirements, we want you to lend responsibly, but sheer outreach program will take you to the last mile. For example, our bank on the retail side is growing by over 25% year on year right now. Finance Minister said, this is an outreach program. I am not asking you to dilute a criteria, just reach more people in an open, visible, transparent manner.
मैम रिजर्व बैंक ने अभी एक अपना निर्देश दिया था कि 1 अक्टूबर से सभी बैंकों को रेपो जैसा एक डायरेक्शनल बेंचमार्क अपनी ब्याज दरें तय करने के लिए यूज करना है. SBI और 1-2 सरकारी बैंक ने ये स्वीकार कर लिया. प्राइवेट बैंक्स का इस बारे में क्या विचार था और क्या इन्होंने कुछ इसको लेके चिंता प्रकट की?
I think I'll answer. We are all committed to moving to benchmark-based lending October 1. Most of us are likely to follow the repo-based benchmark in terms of our lending policy, and it's something which we think is a good way to look at the future. And in a way, I think it will be transparent of how interest rates are charged to customers.
So would you also want the deposit side to be linked to the...
It is up to us. There is nothing stopping us from doing repo-linked deposits even today. It is a decision of each bank how it wants to have its liability strategy.
मैम अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग के लिए जो सुझाव आया है 45 लाख से बढ़कर 50, तो उस पर क्या गंभीरतापूर्वक फैसला हो सकता है वाला समय?
आज ही सुनी हूँ जी.
From your side, did you express any wish in terms of the kind of credit disbursement that you would like to see from the private banking sector?
In fact, you heard them say, I didn't express any wish. I only said I will invite you to come and see what's happening in the extension, the outreach program that we're doing. I invited them if they wish to join. And many of them volunteered. I have not...
Ma'am, I have one thing. We are the happiest people. So what we are doing, the same thing is asked, we will enhance that further so that we are also going to lend more. 70 crores we can go higher. And government is supporting the same thing. And visibility, we have got 5,000 branches visible in all the villages.
If you will lend, government banks will not lend.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. It's a record in the world.
HFC Bank has already rolled out this scheme, and they are actually trying to lend for retail, for cars, for personal loans. So I think all the banks are actually firing on all cylinders.
Yes.
I understand, what the bankers are saying for the rural economy, give a much needed push there. But what about for big corporates, big, big players, big infrastructure projects? What happens to them in terms of, whether and how much money they will be getting?
I think we are waiting for the projects. If the projects are there and
Private investment in that sense is low, sir.
I think private investment should be picking up. There is a huge step taken by the finance minister and the government last week, which they have reduced underwriting the appropriate projects.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I have a question. RBI has put restrictions on PMC Bank. The bank has has its presence in multiple states and is governed by multi-state cooperative societies act, which comes under the central government. So will the government take any steps to ensure that the depositors' interests are protected, because the panic is likely to spread among depositors of other cooperative banks as well?
No, I think first of all, RBI has already said by this evening they're going to relax it for about 60% of their clients, that they would allow them to take the entire amount and so on. So I think at this stage RBI is handling it. I don't think I will get into this at this stage. We'll wait, let there be some kind of a comprehensive picture emerging, post which certainly the government will have to see what best can be done so that there is some assurance given to people who are affected. Our intention is not to have a not so stable environment, but yet RBI is the regulator. Let's see what comes out. Well, let's please.
There were reports which said that banks and NBFCs were a little reluctant to give money to Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So anything with regards to...
No one spoke about it. No one spoke about it.
सरकार ने जो 59 मिनट्स वाला लोन का स्कीम शुरू किया था, सारे सरकारी बैंकों ने उसको लागू किया है। क्या प्राइवेट सेक्टर भी उसमें शामिल है?
ऑलरेडी हो चुके हैं।
हो चुके हैं।
ये भी शामिल है।
शामिल है। Okay.
एक बार हिंदी में बता दें, KMC बैंक वाला।
Ma'am, can I ask just one last question, ma'am? Just one last question.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, is there any work that's going on within the government right now to basically kind of relook at the IBC law to create a fresh window for resolution of stressed assets of NBFCs? Because for the financial sector of this time has not yet been covered, ma'am. Anything on that?
Not that I know of. Nothing that
as an interim measure. And then
Nothing that I know of.
If you permit to ask, so this ADB has cut down the India's growth forecast to 6.5%. After getting the bankers, do you get a sense that our growth could be higher than that?
Today's meeting tells me that things are really looking forward and upward. That is why I started by saying it was like a tonic for me, and I hope this message goes across, particularly since most of them have come from really the deep rural areas, and that liquidity is not a problem. They're willing to lend, and they named each and every one of the sectors. So the message I get from this meeting today is consumption is happening. And once probably the 15 days of this period, which is in many states considered not the time for going and purchasing the Pitru Paksh, post which the festive season starts, from what has emerged today, I feel demand will get back and motivate our economy to move at a faster rate, in which case the coming half year things will have to look up and pep up every other sector, even if there are one or two sectors in which there may be some stress.
मैम, क्या 400 जिलों में जो लग रहा है लोन मेला, उसमें निजी बैंक 400 जिलों में जाएंगे?
क्या चीज?
400 जिलों में लोन मेला लग रहा है, सरकारी बैंक जिस तरह जा रहे हैं, वो निजी बैंक भी सारे 400 जिलों में जाएंगे?
मुझे मालूम नहीं है, क्योंकि निजी बैंक को तो मैंने आह्वान किया कि प्लीज आप भी आकर देख लो, कम से कम देख लो कि क्या हो। मैंने उनमें से बहुत सारे खुद बोले कि हम जरूर भाग लेंगे। वैसे एक आध बैंक उनके अपने प्रोग्राम ऑलरेडी चालू कर चुके हैं, इसीलिए उनका भी एक्सटेंशन चल रही है जिससे क्रेडिट और जनता तक पहुंचे। थैंक यू।